What I'm going to show you to start off with is the grip. It's very easily explained. I'm going to take you over to the table and I'll explain it in detail. Okay, so the first thing with the grip is don't grip it too tight, don't grip it too firm, just really firm enough so that the cue doesn't fall. 4 fingers on the cue here, thumb just to the side, not too much tension. Go down nice and relaxed. 4 fingers on the cue at all times, just feather the cue ball a couple of times, come back and go through it.
And so do different people hold the cue in different ways?
They do, yes. There's a few professionals. Dave Harold is one who holds it kind of with, I think, 2 fingers on the shaft and just a thumb. But it would be very difficult to play that way. What I suggest is 4 fingers on it, you know, not too much tension, tight enough so that you're not going to drop the cue, and that gives you a chance to release the cue through the ball correctly.
So that's kind of like the basic starting point to play snooker?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's a fundamental of the game, but it's important that you get it right. You know, it is very basic, but as I say, it's a natural thing. Pick the cue up, and as you hold it, hold the cue out in front of you, and basically that's the correct grip to use. What we're going to be showing you now is the stance. Again, very important, one of the fundamentals again of the game that you have to get correct, and that's what I'm going to be showing you this time. So to demonstrate the stance, I'm going to play this pink, simple pink in the middle pocket, and just to get you to understand the basics of the stance. You stand back from the shot, have an imaginary line from yourself to the pocket. You look at the shot, you go down, you keep the right leg straight, left leg will be flexed slightly, about 18 inches apart or so. Down on the shot, come back, go through the ball, and as you go to the next shot you repeat the process. If you do that, your stance will come. It's a very repetitive thing. Again, very important, one of the fundamentals again of the game that you have to get correct. So I'm now going to cover the bridge. Again, a very basic thing but very important, and so I'm going to show you the best way to do that and how to build a bridge. First things first, put the bridge hand down on the table, pretty flat, 4 fingers similar distance apart. Just raise the knuckles slightly, bring the thumb up to meet the 4 knuckle here. The heel of the hand, which is this, and the 4 pads of your fingers, what you're going to do there is grip the cloth with these so that it's very solid. So we're down on the shot, you can see the tension in them. So bring the thumb up to meet the 4 knuckle here, creating a V, as you can see there, just a little V for the cue to sit on. Keeping it nice and tight, gripping the cloth so that your hand doesn't move throughout the shot. You come back and go through the ball, and the bridge doesn't change in the shot, it stays the same. That'll create a perfect bridge for you. Okay, so the 3 things that we've explained, the grip, the stance and the bridge, I'm going to show you all in one shot, potting this straight red into the middle pocket. Stand back from the shot, you have your grip all ready, as you can see. Grip is ready in the hand, cue out in front of me. I'm going to move into my stance, square onto the shot. The bridge is nice and solid, a few feathers on the cue ball. Play the shot, stay down, and as you can see the stance stays the same, the grip was the same, and the bridge didn't move. That's the foundations that you want to build in your game, and you'll improve your game. Okay, so I'm going to cover a very important aspect of the game as a pre-shot routine. And what I do is stand back from the shot a couple of paces from your stance, look at the shot, 2 steps into the ball, take your cue action, come back, go through with the shot, cue going through in a straight line, straight through the cue ball. Wait a couple of seconds till the ball's in the pocket, come back up, and you move on and repeat the process. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about the cue action. As before, we go down on the shot. The cue action should basically be 2 or 3 what we call feathering the cue ball, which is just a stroke like this, back and forward 2 or 3 times. Very important also to think of being really smooth, especially when you come back. We'll go down on the shot, feather the cue ball 2 or 3 times, come back, slight pause, and straight through it. I think one of the key things to think of with the cue action is to be nice and smooth with it. As I say, just go down, 2 or 3 feathers, come back, slight pause, and then through the cue ball. Okay, I'm going to show you one of the most basic shots in the game, although very important, is just the basic stun shot. I have a shot set up here. It's just a straight red off the pink spot into the corner pocket. Going to be hitting the cue ball just below centre and trying to pot the red and stop the white stone dead. So you want to be hitting the cue ball just below centre, roughly here. So come back onto the shot. As always, stand back, look at it, come into it, just maybe lower the bridge a little. You'll see the cue is just aiming slightly below centre of the cue ball. Come back, go through with it, and the cue ball should come to a stop where the red was. As I said before, just below centre, you come back and strike it through.
Is it important what part of the cue ball you strike?
Well, it's critically important which part of the cue ball you strike. If you do think about it, the more you raise the bridge, raise the knuckles like that, the more it's going to raise the tip of the cue, which will be more on the top of the cue ball. That would be for a follow-through shot, which I'm going to cover. And you practice that. Once you master that shot, it gives you good close control of the cue ball, which is important for break building. So moving on from a basic stun shot, I'm now going to show you how to follow through. I've got a straight pink off the spot. It is a red, but a straight pink off the spot into the corner pocket. I want to follow the cue ball through and after the red. So as we explained earlier with the bridge hand, I'm going to raise the knuckles, raise the 4 knuckles, which will then put the tip of the cue towards the top of the cue ball, helping to create the top spin that we need to play the shot. Stand back on it, move in, and if you can see the knuckles just raised, which puts the tip towards the top of the cue ball, come back, go through with it. And same as before, you come back off the shot having executed your pre-shot routine and your finish of the shot. And as I say, just important to raise the knuckles of the hand to be able to play the follow-through shot. Okay, so I'm going to cover a very important aspect, what we call striking the cue ball, centre ball or middle ball. I've got the cue ball in the middle of the table here. I'm going to play it straight down the table over the centre spots and hopefully get it to come back up and hit the tip of my cue. You want to be hitting the cue ball in the centre, aiming down the spots. As before, a couple of feathers, come back, go through with it, and it should come back and hit the tip of your cue. That's middle ball striking. So having covered striking the cue ball, centre ball or middle ball, I'm going to show you a shot that requires us to play with left hand side. I'm on the blue, trying to get position on the last red, but we're just off straight, and the problem is, playing it plain ball, the cue ball's going to come off the cushion roughly here, and that would be the path of the cue ball coming off this cushion. So with left of centre striking, we're going to try and white off the cushion and through the gap in between red and black, and hopefully finish nicely on the red. So as before, good setup, down on the shot, left of centre striking as you can see. Nice and firm on the cue ball. In order to get the side on the shot, you have to strike it really firm, probably just above centre. And as you can see, the widens the angle of the shot and the white will drift down, and now we're nicely on the red and a chance to clear up and hopefully win the frame. Okay, so I'm going to show you a shot this time with right hand side. We've potted the last red, we're on the pink to the centre pocket. Unfortunately, the angle we have is taking the cue ball off the cushion here and coming somewhere near the blue, which is on its spot. So what we need is right of centre striking with top spin as well. So come back, look at the shot, walk into it properly, feather the cue ball. As you can see, just striking the cue ball on the right hand side, come back nice and smooth, go through with it, and as you can see, the cue ball has gone top side of the blue and a chance to win the frame. So that's right of centre striking.